I hope everybody has had a great weekend so far, but as usual, Monday is incoming and we are getting ready for a new week on the market. So this video is just pretty much going to be looking at some levels on a couple of stocks that I'm looking at. Let's see, Intel, looking at Palantir, Nvidia, as well as the S&P 500. So I wanted to give you guys some levels that I'm watching to the upside and downside. Now, Palantir, Nvidia, a couple of others were pretty much rallying last week, especially Friday. And I had a couple of students ask about it. And I do believe we could potentially see more of that come Monday and Tuesday, whereas it's still going off that momentum that we saw Thursday and Friday, especially Friday, take place. So that's what I want to look at and pretty much just give you guys some levels to watch on all of them, especially with Intel being a lower cap stock that, some people, like, can you find something that's a little bit lower risk than I could kind of work into. So Intel was one of the reasons why, that was one of the reasons why I added Intel to the list. So I actually trade Intel, but Intel has to hit certain levels for me to get into, like a heavy supply and demand or a very, very, very heavy resistance to say, okay, boom, we at this floor price and we're going to run this thing back up, get a couple contracts, get, maybe a month or two on the expiration and let it make its move and then come out of that. So it's a lower cap, lower risk play that's good for anyone that wants to kind of check that one out, that kind of has that movement potential with other tech stocks, with other semiconductor stocks, other chip stocks and things like that. So we're going to get right into the charts and start looking at these levels for you to add to whatever your game plan is on Monday. Bear with me, y'all, because my screen record is not working. I don't know what the hell is going on with it, but we're going to get right into the charts, all right? So we're going to look at Palantir first. Now, if you watched any of my previous videos, you know I have been on Palantir. I don't know what it is, but then I think I know what it is, because when Palantir, let's real quickly go back to February. Let me go to this daily time frame so we can get there a little bit quicker. All right, you guys see here, right, when we ran up back in February, and this was one of the best damn plays that I've had with Palantir, okay? We was at 125. Now, it hit up here. This was an all-time high for Palantir, and then it pushed down back to those 65, 67 levels down up in here. Now, I didn't ride all the way down there. I had 5 contracts on Palantir. I got in at the top. I got a couple months out on my expiration and I rolled this thing down, sold those 5 contracts over time, and I sold the last one at about $78, $79. Okay, that was a damn good play. Took some time to really fully play out and get back down to this area up in here, but it eventually did. Now, we are making our way back up there. Now, sometimes when such massive pullbacks like this happen, once the stock gets back up here, it's a high chance that it'll break its old all-time high and start making new all-time highs, okay? So that's just something that you kind of want to pay attention to and not just jump in and say, okay, we probably about to break back here and get back down to these lower levels once we hit that 125. So just watch it. Just watch it, okay? So let's look at these levels real quick. I'm gonna go back to this hourly time frame, right? If we open above 113.20 tomorrow, expect to test 114.29. I also had another level in this mid range around 114.16. Okay, if we can get above the 115 area, then we can test this 118.40. Palantir breaks 118.40, then we very well may be testing again those highs that they originally saw at that 120, 122, and that 125 area. Okay, so just pretty much watch that. Let me pull this thing back out so we can see the charts. Okay, so this right here, retesting back up here at these higher levels. Okay, so those are just some levels that you want to watch to see what takes place. Now, if the charts at any moment indicate that we will see another pullback, then just react to what you see. But I am definitely watching Palantir this week. Okay, so those are the upside levels. All right, let's go back to the hourly. Now, we open below this 113, then expect to come back and test this 110 level. Okay, this 110.13 and this lower 106.20. We break below that, we break below 110, expect to retest this 106 area. We break that, 103.56 will be up next. And then I got some lower levels here to just watch below this 50 EMA. We break below that, we could potentially be back in those hundreds and possibly retesting that $98. Now, keep in mind with like Palantir, Nvidia, Intel, and a lot of them, even though they sort of rallied a little bit, mine is Intel. We're going to look at Intel. They still not really out of the dark yet with a lot of this import and export with the semiconductors, the semiconductor tariffs, and all of this that's going on with China and the US. Okay, so keep that on your mental while you're training. Okay, so that's just something to keep up with. So those are just the levels that I have on Palantir. All right, so now let's go over to Nvidia, which is another one that is on my radar. Okay, there's a couple of things to look at with Nvidia coming up. So real quick on the levels, if we open above this 111.92, expect to test this 113.45, and then we have this 115 area. Now this is what I want you guys to watch for on Nvidia. Okay, let me zoom it out some. Okay, let's come over. Now you guys see here where I got this red box. This was a heavy supplier zone I was watching. You see we hit this 115 area up here. Okay, the first time it was up here, this was on the 9th of April. We came up here again. Okay, and by the way, I'm on the hourly time frame, and we came up to 115.38. What happens around this area here? We pushed all the way back down to 103. We push back up to 115 again, and we kind of start playing on the top of this 50 EMA here, and we push down again. So that's something that I want you guys to watch for Monday or this coming week. We open above 111.92, we can test 113.42, and we can test this 115 area. So I'm sorry, 113.45. And then this 115 up here. Expect a bounce here. If it breaks above that, then we can begin to retest these higher levels up here, 116, 118, ultimately 120, and then whatever else we got going on above there. But watch this zone here for a potential bounce to the upside if this thing opens above that 111. Okay, you guys see here we're working with a slight little tweezer top here. If you don't know what the tweezer top is, it is bearish. Okay, push up, that next candle opens at that same level and it begins to push back down. But react to what you see, watch the pre-market, and that'll let you know how things are probably going to be moving with Nvidia. Okay, so this 50 and this 20 is crossing on this hourly, so just watch it. Now, I would personally need to see this open below these tops at 108.13 for us to be able to push down to this 105.61, get back below this 50 and this 200 to retest this 104 even level. And then I had this little box here that I was waiting for. If we retest here, I would get in for long and ride that thing back up, which is at this $100.47 level and this 99.71. So this little arena here would be where I would be looking to ride it back up. We have a slight tweezer bottom here, okay, and that is bullish. The price push down, the next one opens up, and it begins to push up. Now, me personally, I look for tweezer tops and bottoms on higher time frames like the hourly, the 4-hour, and also on the daily time frame. Okay, so that's just my preference when I see that particular pattern. So those are just some levels to watch for on Nvidia. Okay, now let's make our way to SPY. Now I'm also going to look at, matter of fact, let's do Intel first. Okay, I'm gonna have to type that one in. Intel, I know I've had some students ask about some lower risk plays. Now I want to look at Intel because I want to, when I talk a lot about not playing on earnings and not gambling on earnings to say, oh, I just know it's going to go up just because. No. Intel beat earnings, if I'm not mistaken, by 1,700, 1,800%, and it still shot down when they had their earnings, okay? So it didn't make some massive parabolic move to the upside after they had earnings, and by beating earnings as heavily as they did, okay? But let's look at some levels anyway. So we closed out on Friday at $20.02. Okay, $20.02. If we can get, I'm not gonna say I'm pretty confident, but there's a possibility that we could open under this 1934 right here. Okay, if it opens below this 1934, then I have $19 even on the that I'm watching for my next level. They break below this, okay, then expect to test 1825. This is actually around this zone that I'm looking forward to enter a couple contracts and ride it back up. Okay, this is one of those ones, as you guys can see, their movement can be from $18 to 21. Couple dollar movement, okay, nothing too heavy. And this is one of those ones that I get in and hold for a few days versus, getting in and out on the same day, unless it's just some massive push to the upside or downside. Okay, now we break below 1825, we can expect to test 1767. So if I were to get in here for my calls, but we did come down to test this. This is a heavy resistance down here. I'm sorry, not resistance, support level, and a heavy floor price, okay, where we could definitely potentially expect a bounce from here to push up. Even if I were to get in at 1825 and it decided to come down to 1767, I would pretty much just average down and buy some more contracts and then just hold it and just ride it back up. That would just sort of be a part of the game plan that I would have if I were to get into Nvidia. All right. So to push higher up, I would want to see this thing open above 2019. Okay, that would be above this 50 here on this hourly time frame. Now keep in mind, this isn't one that I look at as a day trading thing, so I come to the higher time frame. So I would need to see Intel get back above this 50 EMA to begin to push higher up. If we can get above that 2019, then we can retest this 2156 level. Okay, we can break above this 2155 level, then we can begin to retest this 2173, and then these higher levels up here. I also had a level at 2392 that we could watch for. Okay, and if we do get up there, we could potentially expect a bounce to the downside from here, as you guys see how massive this push down was, and we made our way back down. So this will be, as a matter of fact, this is normally where I put my boxes for areas that I would be watching for loans, okay, to get into on a put on this one. So this will be up in this area that I will look for. We test this and I ride it all the way back down, or we test this 1825 617 level and then we ride it back up. All right, so those are just some levels on Intel to watch for going into the next week to potentially hold for maybe the for a course of the week or just for a couple of days. All right, let's look at the last one, and that is SPY. Typed in the wrong thing. SPYETF. There we go. Okay, now we are on the 1 hour time frame, but I'm going to actually go down a little bit. SPY isn't one of the ones that I hold. Now, I do get my expiration a day or two out. Like, I don't trade 0 DTE on SPY. I said I'm going to, get back into it, but I see my best results sometimes with SPY when I just go ahead and hold it, but I never actually hold it until the next day. I've done it a few times, but nothing too heavy. Nothing too heavy. Okay, I like to get in and out of my play with SPY. All right, now let's look at this thing. So we closed out at 551.23. Okay, what we would want to see, you guys see this little, let me put this up here, okay, where we are. You guys see this little resistance up here at this 551 that we kind of working with on this SPY? We would need to see it get back above this 551.23, get above this 551.68, and we could test this 552.81. and then I have another level at 554.81 at the top. Okay, a heavy level at 557.38. They're going to have to break above this. If they can get above this, then we can push higher to 561.25. But we're going to have some hurdles, and it's going to take some fight to actually get up here to these levels. But we just have to see how this thing goes. So we definitely want to see it open above 551.68 and start pushing a bit higher. Okay. Now, if it opens on tomorrow below this 543.70, expect to test 540.93. And then we have 538.71, and then we have some lower levels down here at the bottom. Now I have 530.61, but it's a bunch of hurdles we're gonna have to get through to get down here. And then I have 523.82. That's just worst case scenario, and we start pushing even further down. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm looking at with SPY. And me personally, I don't like to be in SPY more than I would say more than 2 hours. But as long as I'm hitting my levels and I'm hitting my goals, especially if I have more than one contract, something like SPY, I normally get like 2 contracts. I sell one, and then of course I leave my runner and be out of that thing by the end of the day. So I don't go on the higher time frames with them unless I'm just looking for some parabolic moves to take place with them. Like, I'm just talking about a massive move. I'm on the 5 minute with them, 5 and 15 minute with the S&P 500. So those are just some levels for the upside and downside on SPY. And by the way, the VIX is back down as of now to, let's see, what is this, 24.84 as of Friday. Okay, so if you don't know what the VIX is, when the VIX is pushing down, S&P 500 is pushing up. When the VIX is pushing down, a lot of times the market is pushing up. So you can use the VIX to kind of aid you in what direction the market is going. Okay, when the VIX was spiking, everything else was going down. SPY was pushing down. This is a fear index for those of you who are new to option trading or don't know what the VIX is. Okay, this is a fear index. When the fear is high, that means the stocks in the S&P 500 are pushing down. When the fear is low, the market is a bit easy and the market starts to push up. So that's just something to add to your radar to use and learn how to use to help you trade things like the S&P 500 and to trade other stocks as well, just in terms of where is the market head at, so that I'll know how to enter my positions or how long to hold them. Okay, so the VIX is the VIX. Okay, it's a market volatility index. All right, so that's just something for those of you who may be new to this to get familiar with and really understand how to use it to aid in your trading. So those are just some levels that I wanted to go over with you guys as far as what to kind of look for this upcoming Monday, this upcoming trading week, and just some levels to kind of keep on your radar to watch for. We could potentially be seeing more rallying from Palantir, from Nvidia, kind of back and forth with how Intel may or may not go, as well as the S&P 500. All right, so that was the levels for you guys to watch. Whatever your plan is for Monday, whatever stocks you're looking at, these are just some that you can add to your watch list to make some moves on. So I hope you all have a great Sunday, and I hope you all have a great Monday on the market. Just remember, stick to your plan. Do not overstay your welcome, and take the damn profit if it presents itself.